Welcome to Inspired by JimmyL, a podcast that inspires freedom through authenticity. Take our shows and use them, honey. Use them to listen to your gut, your intuition, and allow them to give you the courage to be free in every area of your life. We believe that success and happiness is a personal thing. Now redefine it on your terms. This show was designed to give you practical tips from realistic people who have decided to no longer keep up with the Joneses. Now your intuition is your roadmap, but this show is here to give you more courage to simply listen. And to add, we are not pleading for ratings and reviews, but please be sure to subscribe and share every single show if you are inspired. I'm your host, Jimmy Warr Mize. Now let's get into the show. Welcome to September 2019 with Inspired by JimmyL. This month's guest is someone that's actually local here to me in the Memphis area. His name is Jasmin Nuhc, an amazing author, an amazing trainer, coach, and so much more. He's the author of 3 books. One is the 9 steps of creating your executable individual development plan. I know that's a long title, but the nuggets and the plan, the development plan itself is amazing. But him being able to give you actual tips and actual tangible steps to get you exactly where you want to be in your organization, and that's whether you're on the corporate ladder or even if you're wanting to do something more along the lines of the entrepreneurship side. These steps can actually help you. He also has a book that's called It Starts and Ends with EIDP. And then he has Leaders Develop First. Amazing, amazing author with some amazing books. If you haven't had a chance to pick up a copy of at least one of them, I would highly suggest it. But anyway, I don't want to get off into all of that. We definitely will be discussing that throughout the interview, throughout this month. So make sure you listen up, make sure you get your pen and pad out, and let's take some notes. Without further ado, let me introduce you to Jasmin Nuhc.
Everyone, I just want to say thank you all so much for tuning in yet again. This month's guest, we have Mr. Jasmin Nuhc on. He's an author, he's a coach, he's a trainer, and what I'm loving most is that he's local here to me in Memphis. Jasmin, so thank you so much again for saying yes.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to have that you wanting to have me on your show, and I hope your audience and my audience in this case benefits from our talk today.
I tell you what, like my straight up, like direct intentions for the show is to make sure that we are inspiring leaders to just step up and do what it means to be a leader. And so my very first question for you is, why is leadership important to you? Like Jasmin, like why is it important to you?
Well, so that's actually a very pointing and at the same time very broad question, right? So I got to tell you this, my friend. One thing is for sure is the leadership and leaders and people that call themselves leader and believe they're practicing leadership. It's all over the place, right? I have been blessed to work for some of the, I would consider them best leaders that I can think of, that truly empower me, truly show me what leadership means, and truly being a leader in a tough situation as well as in good times, right? And I have had a chance to work for some leaders that I don't know if I would even call them leaders. I think they were in a position of leadership, but I'm not sure they were leaders, right? So, for me, leadership is something that I know what is it when I see it. It's hard to describe it, right? But I will tell you in maybe 3 things that I'm looking into a leader beyond the integrity, beyond competency. The 3 things that I'm looking for somebody who considers themselves a leader, and I consider a leader, and that's in my opinion. I hope I'm that kind of leader. Is the one that it has that's able to empower and entrust with full heart and mind of his own to his followers.
Wow, I love that. Oh, I love that.
yeah, number two is somebody who's willing to recognize that that the leadership is not a position, but it is a earned, and it can get lost. It's not a you have it and you have it for life. And the third thing is, and something that I write my books about, and we are hopefully going to talk more about, is somebody who is interested in developing themselves and developing others, right? So for me, if somebody wants to be a leader in world, or wants to be recognized as a leader in my world, and if I want to recognize myself as a leader, I strongly believe that I have to continue to develop myself, and it's not an or game, it's an and game. I have to develop those around me as well.
I love, oh my God, Jasmin, oh my goodness, I wish we would have met a long time ago. So Jasmin, so I read that you are a member and a volunteer with the FEMA and the disasters. And I'm like, you have 3 books, or 2 books that I know of, the 9 steps of creating your executable individual development plan. It starts and ends with EIDP. And I knew that was your first one, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
That is correct. That is the one that was, that's out there. Yep.
So, okay, so you obviously, you love volunteering. I mean, and people normally do not volunteer unless they have a servant-style leadership. And if you also have written these books that will help leaders develop that plan, and not just leaders, but anyone develop a career plan or a development plan for them, like, where is your passion? Like, why are you so passionate about creating or forcing leaders to emerge? Like, where is that passion coming from?
Oh, my friend. So that's, hey, I wish I do more. I gotta tell you this. If you don't pay forward, if you don't give back, I would even venture to say, don't even talk to me, right? If you don't feel like you should be giving back, paying forward, if you don't think you should be helping yourself and others develop and be better tomorrow, either as individuals or as a community, that to me is an example of arrogance and self-centeredness.
Yeah.
That I'm having a hard time even to connect with those people, right? But I would tell you, just on a personal side, right? It is hard to get into, if you never volunteer, if you never give back, if you never pay forward, it is hard. It's hard to find where you want to go with it. It's hard to find where you think you want to make a first step. And you're even sure if you can do something, right, to actually pay forward and give back. But once you start doing it, once you make it the first step, once you actually do it once, then you're like, there's a self-reward. You talk about passion. It just comes from inside of you. You just cannot wait for another opportunity to do that, right? Now, fortunately or unfortunately, I have had chance to get certified as a CERT, as a community emergency response team member, which is part of the FEMA. And I would tell you this, I hope I never, ever, ever have to use that in a real case scenario. But I can tell you I'm as prepared as I can be, because I believe that there's differences, especially when it comes to leadership, differences between being ready and being prepared. And one way to prepare yourself for any leadership role is go volunteer, go into the community, go show you vulnerability, go show that you can lead people that you don't have to pay. They're not there for the money, but they're there for the hearts. Try to continue to win their hearts and minds so they want to volunteer with you. If you master those areas, leadership at work, it's gonna be easy. It's gonna be a piece of cake. So the more I volunteer, the more I help others develop themselves, the more I'm growing. And I can tell you that's a circle of love, circle of development, circle of empowerment that I just, I can go on and on this one. I'll tell you.
I mean, to be honest with you, like, Jasmin, if we could get that style of not just leadership, but just that mindset of an individual, and we can get that more into the corporate world, we will be on a completely different playing field. And I know you strongly believe in creating a development plan, especially career-wise. But like, where's the first steps to that? Because it has to start somewhere. So like, how do you start that foundation of building a career development plan?
Yeah, so there's a two elements to this, and I talked about it in both of my books, and I appreciate you actually, quoting the title of my books. Yeah, so the first and foremost, the first step that somebody has to do is they have to make a conscious decision to actually want to have a executable, meaning something you can execute, you can actually make happen, you can actually turn into results. Individual development plan, right? And that's what I call it EIDP. It's that E is a key executable, but you have to make a decision. You have to make a choice that you want to have it. One thing is keep saying, hey, I need to develop myself. I need somebody's help to help me develop. I know I need to grow. I need to take this class or that class. That's all fine. And I think it's very short-sighted from the view perspective. But hey, probably just like anybody else, if you want to get fit, you got to make the decision and dedicate time and make an effort. If you want to eat healthy, you got to make the decision. You got to make time. You got to make the effort. Heck, even if you want to go on vacation, you have to still make the decision that you want to spend the time, make the decision. So the first and foremost thing, you got to make a decision to do this. And the second thing is you got to take responsibility. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow! Did I hit it? Did I do it? Did I do it?
Yes. Oh.
Hey,
with that accountability, responsibility, I got you. I'm listening.
I'll tell you. I'll come in a second about accountability, but I will tell you that's a second thing on the responsibility. I talk to many people, right? Either during my workshops or my talks, or before and after talks, and you have no idea how many times I've been told, "Hey, you know what? Jasmin, I'm working for this guy, and he just doesn't take responsibility for my development." And I'm like, oh, well, look at it in the mirror, buddy. I mean, that's your responsibility. You got to take responsibility. Nobody's going to be invested as much as you should be invested in your career, professional development plan. And by the way, it is your responsibility. Managers come and go. They quit. They leave. They do whatever. You own the professional development plan. And making that or come to realization that is true, that is a absolute second pillar that in order, to answer your question, how do you start? The first one, you have to make a conscious decision. The second one is you have to take responsibility for it. Now, Jimmy, let me just add this to you because you brought up accountability, right?
Okay.
And you may come up again, but I will tell you this. Once you get started, once again, it's hard, right? Even if you start running, after the first mile, you're going to get exhausted. You go and question yourself, why am I doing this? Why I just don't quit and go home and get a cup of coffee and enjoy my backyard, right? Why? So you need somebody to help you, to hold you accountable, right? To hold you accountable to that decision that you made, that you want to have a professional development plan. And so the reason why I'm saying that is that there's something that I actually picked up from one of my mentors, and she told me this almost 10 years ago. They say, Jasmin, if you want to reach your goals and objectives, you gotta have somebody called accountability body, somebody who's gonna be your friend, accountable friend, who's gonna hold you accountable. And she coined this thing, that accountability body. And then, that once you have that as somebody who's gonna call you out and say, hey, remember, Jimmy, you made the decision. Remember that? Remember, it's your responsibility. Don't fall this onto me or anybody else. Go make this happen. You can reach your full potential. You can reach your career objectives, but you got to stick with it. You got to stick with your decision.
Okay, I dare you to ask yourself this question. I truly dare you. What does leadership mean for you? And then more importantly, whatever that goal is that you are attempting to achieve, do you have someone that is holding you accountable for doing what you said you're going to do? I hope you do. I hope you enjoyed this clip. At the end of the day, make sure you are being authentic to you. Make sure any changes, any decisions that you want to make, any goals that you are looking to obtain, make sure you're doing it for you, not anyone else. Let's stop keeping up with the Joneses. I believe they're broke. I truthfully believe, in fact, I've seen them get put out. They're broke and they have no idea what they're doing. So let's, at the very least, live authentic to ourselves and not try to keep up with someone else. I love you guys as always. I'll see you first thing in the morning on Instagram.